speak, Alan?
Um, yes, okay, until after the presentation. Perfect. Okay, everybody, hello and welcome to Enlightened Tapping Meditation and Stillness. It is fabulous to be with you. I'm so excited. 56 plus years of living to get to this moment, and I am just overflowing with gratitude and joy and delight to be with you and to share something that's very exciting to my heart. So let's just get started. There we go. So here we are, Enlightened Tapping Meditation, and we're going to be focusing on the experience of stillness this evening. There are many, many different qualities to meditation and enlightenment, but tonight we're going to focus on you having the experience of stillness. And if all goes well, this is an evolutionary meditation process, and to my knowledge, this has never been done in the history of humankind. I know that Gimpo has done radio interviews where he's facilitated the Big Mind process, and but this is the first time we've ever done a Google Hangout or taken a community that's literally spanning the globe. I know there are people from Europe that are actually awake and online. There are people in North and South and Central America. There are people that are in New Zealand and Australia that are on our Hangout today. So it's never been done to cast the energetic web this far and facilitate an enlightened experience in 40 minutes for the group. So that's the guarantee and that's the promise, and let's roll into it. So tonight is really about the distinctions of meditation and the evolution of enlightenment. And so if you have a passion or an interest in those things, if you have a rigorous spiritual practice yourself, whether that's yoga or martial arts or Tai Chi or any kind of the many, many, many kinds of meditation, if you are seeking enlightenment, liberation, freedom, cosmic awareness, if you study the mystics from any of the major world's traditions, or if you're like some of us on this call, looking for a spiritual solution to the sort of sacred wounds of our life that keep us stuck in suffering and wanting relief from that, you're in the right place. So just a moment about who am I and why you should care. You've shown up on to be here tonight when there's 1,001 things that you could be doing elsewhere with your life in your world, but here you are. I'm the author of Body Brilliance, Mastering Your 5 Vital Intelligences, the #1 health and wellness bestseller, and winner of 2 National Book of the Year awards. I'm on the board of directors for Center of Integral Wisdom with people like Ken Wilber, John Mackey, Sally Kempton, John Mackey, the CEO of Whole Foods, all people who are using evolutionary meditations and consciousness to make an impact in the world. I'm the founder of ThroughYourBody.com, and I am the midwife of Enlightened Tapping Meditation. But as many of you know and have heard my story, things weren't always so fabulous in my life. I moved to Houston in 1980 to become bartender to the fabulous, and because of some of those sacred wounds and my chronic shyness and the chronic psychic pain that I lived with, I very quickly became an IV drug user. And when I first learned that AIDS was caused by a virus, I just assumed that I would die a very lonely and painful death, because as an IV drug user, I've shared syringes with men who had already died from AIDS. But in 1988, I got sober, and I happened to live with a doctor, a medical doctor, and he kept saying, "Alan, I think you might be negative. You're just too healthy." Alan, I think you might be negative. You just seem too healthy. And after hearing that for 6 months, I began to think, well, maybe he's right. And being newly sober, I had to decide, am I making short-term plans for my life? Am I going to die that painful, lonely death? Or am I going to have a crack at actually having a real life and surviving this? And I got my first HIV test. And miracle of miracles, that came back. I was and still am HIV negative. And I left the clinic that day knowing that the goddess, God, the cosmic universe had placed their hand on my shoulder and spared me. I'd played Russian roulette with my life, and I had been spared for some reason. I did not know what that reason was at the time, but I vowed to quit squandering my talents and my gifts and to use them. And 6 months later, I found myself in massage school. And that began my journey. And I did get involved with the 12-step program, but it was really meditation and the spiritual solution that really spoke to me. And so I quickly expanded my net to finding and studying everything I could about meditation and enlightenment. My first introduction to meditation really came in 1977 when I was 17. I remember back in 1983, even though I was still very much in the bartender's life, studying meditation, studying Tai Chi, astrology. My friend JD was the DJ, and I was a manager of a multi-million-dollar dance club, and we would get there early on the evenings and put on Vangelis and play this exquisite Antarctica CD, and we would do our Tai Chi on the dance floor, sort of blessing the evening before we got started. And then in 1988, once I got sober, then I really, really did a deep dive into all forms of meditation. And then in the last couple of years, I midwifed this weird meditation. And it's got this bold promise that in 40 minutes, whether you've meditated a day in your life or not, you can experience a real enlightened sensation, awareness, presence. So we're going to go into that very deeply. So for the next 60 minutes, I'm going to give you my very best, and we're going to have a demonstration. You know, everyone that's in this field that can hear my voice all around the world is going to be invited to tap with us and step into this field of enlightenment, and let's just see how we do. And then at the end of that, there'll be an invitation to go deeper and work more with me if you're interested in that. And then also there will be a Q&A. So you'll see a little box there where you can enter questions. So as I'm speaking, feel free to enter your questions, and also you know, you'll see the panel of my friends here that are here to support us, and they will be sort of our echoes, so you'll be able to hear them and what they're experiencing. But we're going to be asking you to enter, you know, what are you sensing, what are you feeling, what are your comments about what's happening in the facilitation process in that little box. So what is enlightenment? That's a very loaded question. It's an experience that people have been trying to talk about and describe for at least 4,000 years of documented writing. So this is how I describe it and what it means for us this evening. We live in this bundle of our personal selves, our separate selves. The way this world seems to work is that we all suffer from this illusion of separation, that we are unique and there is an I, and that we are separate from all that is. And that illusion causes so much psychic pain and anxiety in our lives. And as we grow up, we create a lot of defenses around staying connected and staying safe in our world.
Hey, Alan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we can't see your slides.
You can't?
No.
Okay. At all?
No, just seeing a blank screen.
Okay, well, let's try this again.
Okay.
Okay. Now you tell me. You know, and I couldn't see the the little messages in Google from when you were telling me. All I could see was the full screen. Try that again.
That's right, sure, again.
Okay.
There we go.
Now can you see them?
Perfect.
Okay. Well, we'll catch you up with my beautiful slides, kids. So, John, is there a way to, I was just seeing the screen's full, the slideshow full screen. Is there a way just to catch that?
You have to like look between the two.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I'm kind of frozen up here for a second, waiting for my screen to come back. Okay. Well, welcome to the joys of technology here, ladies and gentlemen. So,
Are you perhaps in the wrong screen?
I clicked share screen, and that little window that still says that that's all I see. So I'm kind of frozen up over here.
So, you need to just share from your PowerPoint.
What's that?
So you've got your slides up, but now you need to go back to your PowerPoint window.
Okay.
I think is why it's not moving forward for you.
Okay. All right.
There we go.
All right, that looks better. But, okay, now the only way I can toggle from the slides is if I go back to full screen. Is that right?
No, you just have to go to the PowerPoint presentation window.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
You've got your Hangout window and your presentation window.
Okay, so I mean I'm seeing my slides full screen right now is what I'm seeing.
Okay. There we go. Now they're changing, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, next time shout out a whole lot sooner than that. So, okay. So this is where we were, spanning the Grand Canyon of consciousness. Because in this, John, just so you know, in this full screen, I don't see anything but the PowerPoint slides.
And you're blinking.
No.
Okay. John?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so just, shout out at me if there's any more issues because I can't see anything but my PowerPoint slides from here.
Will do.
Okay. All right, so anyway, meanwhile, back at what is enlightenment, it is this ability of human beings to transcend their personal selves, their separate selves, or what we call the ego in modern psychological terms. But Zen says that enlightenment is already always there and it's just a matter of shifting. But for the ordinary human, that's a grand canyon of consciousness being able to shift that way. And so, and in classical Eastern meditation, whether it's Hindu or Taoist or Buddhist, there is, when you're in that fully enlightened experience, there's that sense of no self. You've transcended that small self that worries. And so here are the qualities that are important to me for this evening in talking about an enlightened experience. You have the sense that you've transcended yourself, that you are beyond time and space, and you can actually sense into this quality of infinity or eternity or emptiness or like a vast spaciousness. And one of the more subtle things that happens the more time you visit this enlightened state is non-attachment. And that takes work. That takes coming back to this sensation of enlightenment over and over and over, because we humans are very attached to our pleasures, our desires, our comforts, different sensations, feelings, thought patterns, our four-legged friends, our two-legged friends. So So the evolution of enlightenment is important because in the ancient traditions, in the Eastern traditions, you would most likely go to a monastery or study, one-on-one with a teacher. And you could sit on a cushion or you could sit on a Zen bench for years, literally before you had an actual Satori experience, wrestling with your attention, wrestling with your mind. And so what we now have is technologies that allow people to experience these qualities of enlightenment really within 30 or 40 minutes. One of the things that I've noticed, particularly in the last 50 years, sort of since the 60s, is there's always been two tracks of enlightenment: the spontaneous, like in Zen there's the Rinzai school, which is the spontaneous awakening, that is a permanent awakening. And then there's like in Zen there's the Soto school, which is a gradual, it's like where most of us come in and we sit on a regular basis and notice our thoughts, notice where our ego is for the day, and sometimes we sit in a beautiful spaciousness and sometimes we just sit. But a couple of examples of modern day teachers, as Byron Katie on the left and Eckhart Tolle on the right, and they had massive, full-blown enlightened experiences that also became permanent stages in their life. And it's an extraordinary gift. But both of them talk about, Byron Katie talks about going and walking in the desert for a couple of years and asking her 4 questions in the turnaround, and writing about her mother and what she thought her mother had done to her before she was clear. Eckhart Tolle talks about sitting on a park bench for at least a couple of years to understand and process what had happened to him. I missed a slide in there someplace. Okay. Well, so we're going to, there it is, Carl Jung. So we've had thousands of years of documented history in the Eastern traditions, many, many, many spiritual teachers, from Lord Krishna to Lao Tzu to the Buddha, who have all had a great impact on our understanding of what enlightenment is. But if we jump back 100 or so years ago, 125 years, people like Carl Jung, from the Western psychology perspective, began to talk about what he called archetypes that we all had in common at the unconscious, super unconscious level. And then as those impulses moved to more the subconscious of every human being, then they began to think in terms of subpersonalities. Hal and Sidra Stone created voice dialogue with the idea that with these subpersonalities or voices, you could actually have entire conversations with them and begin to work with the tension in the psyche or the ego in a way that was really beneficial and freeing. And so now, at this point, there are lots of bodies of work in NLP, voice dialogue, Gestalt therapy, Jungian analysis, big mind meditation, and now Enlightened tapping, that talk about parts work, working with the different parts of ourselves or the different voices within us or those subpersonalities. But it's the idea that we have these different opinions going on in our head, and often they're in 180-degree tension as to what we should and could be doing. And then along came Maizumi Roshi and Genpo, and back in the 80s, Maizumi Roshi was a Japanese Zen master who was the founder of the LA Zen Center, and he taught and noticed that the Americans could do amazing zazen. They could sit in beautiful stillness. But when they would stand up, they would immediately be cruel to each other or assholes. And so there was something between the shift from Japanese Zen to working with American students that they weren't, the stillness wasn't affecting some of the, shall we say, character flaws. And so Maizumi Roshi somehow connected with Hal Stone, and he came and did voice dialogue with the elder students at the LA Zen Center, and Genpo was one of those students. And the seeds were planted on what would become Big Mind. And what Genpo realized after a period of time was we have all these voices in our head, but what about the enlightened voices that are already always awake? Could we facilitate those voices in a short amount of time and people be able to experience firsthand
Hey,
Satori?
Alan,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you again. Did you by chance hit the start broadcast button? Obviously we did. We're live. For some reason people are having a hard time seeing and hearing you.
I did hit start broadcast.
Yeah, because we're live. So there's an awful lot of folks saying for some reason they can't see or hear us.
Huh. Well, I apologize for that. I don't know what to say. Any comments from you, John? Can everybody on the panel see and hear?
I see fine.
I can. It's just that the slides are flashing.
Flashing?
Yeah.
Yeah. On and off.
Okay. Well, I don't know what to say at that point other than, welcome to Google technology and modern technologies. So we just have a few more slides and we're going to get into our demonstration anyway.
Okay.
So I'll go back to that, and there will be a replay, everybody. I will make sure that, and we're going to have it professionally, the slides laid over the audio. So you'll have access to that for sure. Okay, so are you guys still seeing my slides?
Yeah. Oh, well, right now we're seeing you.
Right now we're seeing you.
Okay. And how about that?
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, great. So, Genpo, and he says this process that he delivered, he calls Big Mind. He says it's not rocket scientist. If it was, I would never have figured it out. Now he's an Olympic athlete. He was in he swam and was in water polo athlete, but found Zen and loved it. But doing the voice dialogue, that really stuck with him, and he had the insight. If we have all these other voices inside our head, can we facilitate the voices of enlightenment? And he sort of kept asking that question and sort of found a process. And he worked he lived in Salt Lake City, Utah, and actually did spiritual counseling with people who were Mormons. And there was a gentleman struggling with the death of his wife. And he couldn't imagine why the Christian God would let his beautiful, talented, lovely wife die. And Genpo was facilitating this man and said, well, let's just ask him. Let me speak to the voice of God. And the man was able to shift and connect to that part of himself that was that already awake, enlightened, clear consciousness. And Genpo went on to create Big Mind meditation, and I studied with Genpo and Diane Hamilton, his student, since 2006, and really practiced and facilitated a lot of Big Mind. And then about 3 years ago, I met Margaret Lynch in 2010, actually, and at her live event 3 years ago, I was watching her do shadow work from the stage with 160 people in a room. And I was just blown away at her ability to hold the space for people to go to these deep places of pain and use EFT tapping and work with that. And I standing at the back of the room, I received a gift and a download of how to integrate all the different pieces of my work. The Big Mind, the voice dialogue, EFT tapping, shadow work, all of it into what is now Enlightened Happy Meditation. So that brings us full circle, and so let's get into the experience. Are you guys ready for that?
Yes.
I would hope for a little more enthusiasm than that.
Yes.
Yes. I just
Absolutely.
my was on.
Yeah. So, so now this is going to be interesting. Like I said, this has never been done, and there are people all over the world with the Hangout here. So, the people on the panel they're really here to create a circle and hold space for you and for all of us. And so they're going to be my echoes, and so I'm going to be working and facilitating with them. So even though you're listening at home, I want you to do your best. Close the door to your office or wherever you're at. Grab a pen and paper if you need it. And just imagine that you're here in a fabulous temple with us in an intimate room, temple room, and we are just being together in a circle. And the way that this works is very simple. If you do these 5 things, then you should have an enlightened experience within the next 30 minutes. So I'm going to ask to speak to a part or a voice of you, and I like to start with the controller. So you actually physically shift in your chair. And imagine that by doing that, you've teased out that the ego, the self that you normally are in your life, is actually sitting in another chair next to you. And as the controller, you're sitting alone in the chair you presently sit in. And speak from the I voice. I am the controller. I control everything he does. I control the flow of data from his nervous system into his brain. Whatever is presenting to you. Even though we can't hear you, for those of you at home, speak out loud. It's the speaking out loud that helps to embody that voice and allow those insights of what that voice is trying to share with you and say to you to do it. Also, you can journal. As the controller, I notice how much I love to control. So journaling takes more time, but it's also another legitimate way to let these voices communicate with you. The next thing is just trust the process. And for those on the panel, if you feel lost or you feel threatened in any way, just let me know as the facilitator and we'll stop. And that's a powerful place. I had the opportunity to facilitate this enlightenment for 80-something people in Boston a few weeks ago. And out of the 80-something people, there were about 5 that weren't able to shift initially. And with just a little bit of facilitation, one after the other, they were able to shift and experience this enlightened state. So let's just see how we go here. Okay, so I should be back. Okay, there's Tristan. Fabulous. Okay, so did that make sense? Any comments or questions, you guys?
None.
No, we're good.
Okay, great.
No. Alan, you're still not back. You just need to stop
You're not.
sharing.
I'm not back? Okay, what do I need to do then? Stop screen sharing. Okay, got it.
Stop.
There we
There
go.
you are.
All right. So, so the next thing we're going to ask to speak to a voice, the controller, and then also we're going to do some tapping, and I'm going to explain the tapping points right now so we can just dive into it. So we use the short form made famous by Nick Ortner and Margaret Lynch, and it's always the point right here, the inside, if you want to go ahead and find that point, inside eye point, the outside eye point, the under the eye point, this is the zygomatic ridge in the bone of the skull, and then there's under the nose, the chin point, and then you're going to have a hard time seeing it because of the panel, but I'll move over here. Right where your clavicle meets your breastbone, there is
the other way.
What's that?
If you move to the other side, you won't be in the panel.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
It's reversed on my side. Thank you. All right. But that point right there on both sides, it's a tender point. It's one of my favorites. And then since you actually can't see me do this, I don't look completely like a chimpanzee. Underneath the arm, about 2 inches below your armpit, there's a point that's usually pretty tender, and it is a lymphatic point. So it affects the water system in your body. There you go, Sabrina. You go, girl. And then the top of the head here. And a number of the meridian points end in the head and the skull. So when you're tapping the top of the skull like this, you really are activating many of the meridian points that radiate through your body. Okay? So first and foremost, let me speak to the controller. So everybody shifting in your chair, imagining that you've teased the self out and is sitting next to you. And who am I speaking to?
The controller.
Control.
Great. And what's your job?
To control.
It's to control.
To control. Excellent. And what are some of the things that you'd like to control?
Everything.
Everything. Good, good. So, control everything. That sounds like a big job.
It is.
It is. Well, so help me out here. What are some of the things you like to control for the self?
What she thinks.
What she thinks. Great.
What she says.
What she says.
What she does.
What she does. Say more
And
about
what
that.
she does.
Wait, I want to go back. What's what she does? Let's say more about that.
What she does and what she doesn't.
Yeah, excellent. Beautiful. Thank you. What else do you control?
What she feels.
What he feels.
Or she.
Or she. But that's a whole nother can of worms because, yeah, guilty. There's that. As a controller, don't you like sometimes enjoy controlling other people?
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Of course. But we have one honest controller in the background there. So, yeah.
How she judges.
How she judges. Yeah. Excellent. So one of the things that I noticed for Alan, is, there's this constant flow of impulses and energy and sensations through the nervous system, and I have to keep tight control of, what he's experiencing, just sort of keep him in a narrow bandwidth of perception and behavior. Do you notice anything like that for the self?
Oh yeah, if I didn't have a controller, I'd be all over the place.
Yeah. Where would the self be without you?
She'd be in a million different places all over.
Should be in a million, scattered. Okay.
Scattered. Flaky.
Yeah. Where else would the self be without you, the controller?
If you're out of
She
control,
would be
not safe.
totally inappropriate.
No. Oh, I love that. Out of control and totally inappropriate. Okay.
Reacting to everything.
Reacting to everything. Excellent. Where else would the self be without you?
Be victimized, taken advantage of.
Terrified.
What was that, Tristan?
Could get hurt or taken advantage of.
Yeah, the self would be hurt or taken advantage of without you. I can't imagine where he'd be without me. I mean, I finally got control of that drug addiction, and he got his life turned around. But he could be strung out on the street someplace, an absolute mess. All right. Well, as the controller, do you have a sense that one of your jobs is to control the other voices that are inside the self?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least as best you can. Some of those voices have been known to hijack and take center stage when they're not invited.
Definitely.
Well, yeah. But we work hard to limit that.
Yeah, well, as a controller, you try to limit that. Those pesky emotions are notorious for that.
Yeah.
Especially desire, lust, jealousy, some of those.
Keep the temper tantrums at bay.
Yeah, keep the tantrums at bay. Exactly. So as the controller, it would behoove me to sort of get your permission to move forward with this process and speak to some of the other voices.
That's true.
Okay, great. So do I have your permission to do that?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Great. And I have a couple of requests for you. If you feel threatened in any way for the self, I mean, I know one of your jobs is just to help keep the self safe and protected. Just would you raise your hand, let me know, and we'll chat a bit.
Okay.
I have your commitment for that.
Yes.
Okay. And this is the fun part for you. So as a controller, will you give me a crystal clear connection to each of the voices that I want to speak to?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so let's do some tapping. I'll start, and you just repeat what I say, okay?
Okay.
All right. Starting with the inner eye point, I'm the controller.
I'm the
I'm the
controller.
controller.
The outer eye point, and I love to control.
And I love
to
to control.
Under the eye point, and I'm damn good at it.
And I'm
I'm
damn good at it.
Under the nose, I've had decades to practice,
I've had decades to practice.
and I am really, really good at it.
I am really, really good at it.
I control so much.
I control so much.
What she thinks,
What she thinks,
what he says,
what he says,
what she does,
what she does,
how he feels.
how he feels.
I control everything I can.
I control everything I can.
Other people,
Other people,
the weather,
the weather,
time,
time,
sensations,
sensations,
feelings,
feelings,
thoughts, actions and behaviors,
actions and behaviors,
even her energy level,
even her energy level,
even his power.
even his power.
I'm the controller,
I'm the controller.
and I work hard
And I work hard
24/7.
24/7.
No rest for me.
No rest for me.
I am on guard all the time.
I am on guard all the time.
I am hypervigilant.
I am hypervigilant.
Someone's got to be in control.
Someone's got to be in control.
Where would the self be without me?
Where would the self be without me?
A mess.
A mess.
In trouble.
In trouble.
In jail.
In jail.
Taken advantage of.
Taken advantage of.
On the streets.
On the streets.
And quite possibly dead.
Quite possibly dead.
So I do an important job.
So I do an important job.
No matter what the self says.
No matter what the self says.
I know the self thinks I might be a little high-handed.
I know the self thinks I might be a little high-headed.
A little overbearing.
A little overbearing.
A little constricting.
A little constricting.
But it's important. Because the self needs to be safe.
Because the self needs to be safe.
And the self needs to be connected.
And the self needs to be connected.
And as the controller,
And as the controller,
that's my primary job.
that's my primary job.
I am the controller.
I am the controller.
And I give my permission
And I give my permission
to move forward with this process.
to move forward with this process.
And I make 2 commitments.
And I make 2 commitments.
If I'm concerned for the self,
If I'm concerned for the self,
I'll raise my hand and let the facilitator know.
I'll raise my hand and let the facilitator know.
And I'll give a crystal clear channel
And I'll give a crystal clear channel
to the other voices
To the other voices
that are called on to speak.
that are called on to speak.
And I'm the controller.
And I'm the controller.
And take a deep breath, shake that out a little bit. And just look deeply into yourself, relax for a moment. And what do you sense? What do you notice?
More space.
More space? Okay, say more about that.
I just feel like there's more space inside of my body, more relaxation.
Okay, beautiful.
Feel respect.
What's that?
I have a lot of respect for the controller, for what I do.
So, yeah, you have some respect for the controller. Excellent. Great.
There's
What
a
else?
calmness.
There's a calmness. Excellent.
Less of a need to.
Yeah, that less of a need to control.
I feel that my job has been more understood.
More respected.
Yeah, more respected. Your job's been more understood. Great. So the self can appreciate you a little more.
Yes. There's less fight.
Yeah. John, there's almost an interesting sort of tone going on. So,
We totally know something.
yeah, it's like whirlpool or something. So, anyway, great. Okay, well,
Did it go?
Stop.
thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, it was the fan.
Okay. Well, don't get too hot now, girl. We can loosen up some chi here with this tapping.
Yeah.
For those of you at home, I know that there's going to be a place to interact. There's a little place where you can enter questions or comments. So as the controller, after that tapping, what are you sensing? What are you feeling? And Darden will share some of those things with us. So what else for the panel? What else are you sensing and feeling as you sit here?
I'm feeling more discomfort in my body, actually.
Okay, so more discomfort. Say a little bit about that. What are you sensing?
Just more tightness in my rib cage and near the spine.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I notice for Alan, one of the things I do is I really sort of keep him focused on some specific things when there are thousands of data points through the nervous system and through his energy field that's coming to him. So as the controller, do you have a sense of how you play that job?
Yes.
And so maybe her attention's a little more relaxed now and she can actually sense what's going on in the physical body.
Right.
Okay.
I feel relaxed, as though I'm the CEO of a company that's been told by all the employees that they can handle it for a little while, and I get to take a break.
Well, excellent. And you're thinking, okay, how many decades has it been before my first 15-minute break here?
I feel a swelling in this area of great relaxation that I'm going to take a coffee break right now because they said they're good without me for a little while.
Yeah. Yes. So any comments that people sharing, Darden, about, and you can unmute yourself and speak out loud if you want to, any comments specifically about what the controller is sensing or feeling from our audience?
Alan, at the moment, a lot of people are having trouble seeing and hearing you, that it's saying starting soon. So I don't have any comments for you. And we have a note on the chat that there will be a replay. John has put that up, but I'm not seeing any comments.
Okay.
Darden asked me to do that. We seem to have a fault on YouTube. Like, I went to the actual video on YouTube, and it's not playing off of YouTube. So I'm not sure what's going on.
Huh.
I had to go back and track it and look, and it's like I've never ever seen this ever.
Well,
Look at all you've kicked up.
We have a lot of people who are very excited about the replay.
I know.
Well,
And it's going great, and they will have an excellent replay to watch.
well, let's hope If it's not recording on YouTube, then maybe it's just for the 9 of us right here tonight. So, John, any thoughts on that?
Here's our options. We could try to do it and start from square one. I don't know how you feel about that. And then we will have a replay. It just completely seems to be frozen up on YouTube. It's like I went to YouTube. I'll share with you what I'm seeing, so you can. Well, it's not really much to share. It's just a screen saying starting soon. It just isn't recording. But it's showing us as live.
It's showing.
I've never ever seen this.
Hmm.
But I tracked back and I looked at the actual video. It's on YouTube that it's just not recording.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just never encountered this. So the only thing
Not getting a recording.
I can make 2 suggestions. Nothing. Just absolutely nothing. So the only thing I can suggest is up to you. We either try to start it over, or how do you feel about it?
I don't want to do the intro over. I could do that separately. But what about if we started from the tapping point forward? Would you guys be okay with that?
Yeah.
Sure.
All you would have to do, I'll respond. We can respond back to the garden if you want to tell me that. And do that, Alan, is go out and come back on that same link and rename it.
Just rename it something different.
Rename it something different.
Do I need to stop the broadcast?
You would need to stop the broadcast and literally start over. And we may need to rejoin you on our links.
So explain to everybody what that means if I lose everybody. So
okay, so it'll mean like a 5-minute probably to change videos, and then you would have to come back on the same link.
So we're going to take a 5-minute break and stop broadcasting and close everything down, and start over.
Start saying, yeah.
But you said all the people who were the 31 attendees would still have access to it.
They will still see it. So
okay, can you put a note that that's what we're doing?
Will do.
Okay, all right. So is everybody on the panel clear? In 5 minutes or 4 minutes, click your link and rejoin the program, and we'll start from the tapping.
Okay.
You're willing to do that with us?
Sure.
Okay.
You wanna restart? I'll stay here. Drop Darden a note, maybe by Skype or something, so that we know.
I can hear you.
Okay.
I'll drop out and rejoin also.
Well, no, I wanted Alan to drop out and start the new Hangout.
Okay.
My Skype is frozen, so I can't tell like when you're in the new one.
Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to think of
I'll
how you
go.
can let me know.
All right. Okay. Well, I'll stop the broadcast and I'll start from beginning. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.